Hey, Momotarou Umi no Shinpei is the first animated feature-length film from Japan, and the only black and white animated feature-length film from Japan because of technological limitations. It was released on April of 1945. The film is loosely based on the Japanese folktale hero Momotaro. You should be familiar with the folktale before watching this film. But I don't want to recount the whole folktale here, so just watch the 10-minute Hajime no Ego version of the folktale here on YouTube. Instead, I want to share my layman's armchair theory on the origin of the folktale itself. So, Mukashi, there's probably 4 seaside villages that gets marauded by pirates from time to time. The chief of one of the villages, the village that was least affected by the pirate raids, decided that it's time to fight back. Let's just call this chief Momotaro. Momotaro provided disaster relief to the other 3 villages, and in return, the villages sent him some men to serve in his campaign. The village that represents the dog handled the production of weapons and armors. The village that represents the seagull handled the reconnaissance and determination of the best time to attack the pirates' port. The seagull is later replaced with the pheasant for the landlubbers, because what even is an umineko? A neko, but from the umi? You're not making any sense. You know what? What I actually meant to say is pheasant. Oh, I see. Okay, but how come you guys both sound the same? And the village that represents the monkey handled the infiltration and breaching of the pirates' port. Momotaro's army succeeded in defeating the pirates, all thanks to Momotaro, as he stands from a safe distance. Momotaro took all the pirates' food, treasures, and enslaved some of them, including the leader of the pirates himself, probably to be tortured during festivals, to boost tourism. I don't know, I'm not familiar with the culture. Anyway, news of Momotaro's accomplishments spread throughout the land by word of mouth, making it a little bit more fantastical with every iteration, with ogres and furries and whatnot. And many years later, the palace released their own version of the story, with Momotaro now being born from a giant peach, which makes him a divine being, just like the royal family. Why? Because it's impossible for mere humans to achieve such greatness. So don't start a rebellion against the royal family, because that will definitely fail, okay? The heavens would not allow such things. And everyone was fine with that. Meditashi. And that's my version of Momotaro's origin. Yeah, now that I got that out of my system, let's talk about the film itself, Momotarou Umi no Shinpei. As I said at the start of the video, this film is loosely based on the Japanese folktale hero, Momotaro. It's not a film version of the actual folktale itself. The movie doesn't even follow Momotaro around, as you might expect. Instead, the film has an ensemble cast. But if I'm gonna pick a main character, it's the monkey paratrooper. The first act follows 4 anthropomorphic animal characters: peasant, dog, monkey, and an original character do not steal, bear. They are a bunch of newly trained Navy paratroopers on their way home for their vacation before their first deployment. Peasant immediately started feeding his children when they got home. Bear and his little sister go through their Kintaro figure collection while eating snacks. Enjoy your last days of innocence, Bear. Soon you're gonna kill people. Monkey recounts to the neighborhood kids his fun experiences in the Navy. And Dog, nobody cares about Dog, so his sins got cut. Well, probably rotted away. After all, this film was considered lost for 39 years before a copy was found in a warehouse in Ipuna in 1984. Continuing the first act, Monkey's younger brother, Santa, got swept away by the river because kids are stupid and can easily be programmed for the benefits of the ruling class. Anyway, Monkey and Dog rescue Santa by using their Navy paratrooper class abilities. And the first act ends with Monkey relaxing in the meadows, viewing Mount Fuji, while being surrounded by flying dandelions, which made him reminisce about his paratrooper trainings. Oh, and stupid Santa is there too. You know those other YouTube film review channels where they review films, but in actuality they're summarizing the events of the whole film throughout the runtime of their videos? Yeah, that's a dick move. I don't want my channel to be like that, so let's talk about something more important about the film. Sometime between December of 1941 to January of 1942, around 3.5 years before the release of this film, Momotaro, Monkey, and the rest of the gang, as part of 2 paratrooper companies, transferred to the city of Davao. And from there, they paradrapped to Manado City in January 11 and 12 of 1942 to fight the evil Gumballholic Onis, to fight the evil Onis. So basically, the Battle of Manado. Yeah, if you haven't figured it out yet or you didn't already know prior to clicking this video, Momotarou Umi no Shinpei is a Japanese World War II propaganda film. The first Japanese animated feature-length film is a World War II propaganda film. Yeah, let that sink in. I guess we better talk about the history of Japanese animation now. So, before World War II, from 1917 to 1938, Japan made 172 animated short films. These are mostly Japanese folktale short films. During World War II, from 1939 to 1945, they made 26 more animated short films. These, however, are mostly World War II propaganda short films. And a lot of these propaganda short films features Momotaro. And including the full-length film, Momotarou Umi no Shinpei, we'll get a total of 199 films. Most of these, by the way, are lost films, and not really good, especially the World War II propaganda ones. But if you're in the mood for these black and white short films, the National Film Archives of Japan recommends 64 titles available to watch for free on their website, animation.filmarchives.jp. Go check them all out, or at least the 26 Japanese folktales. The archive even has 11 propaganda films in its collection, if you're interested. Now for comparison, before World War II, the US produced the full-length colored animated film Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. And during World War II, they produced 6 more full-length colored animated films. They also produced a lot of World War II propaganda animated short films, with Donald Duck being the de facto World War II mascot of the US, akin to Momotaro for Japan. Which kind of makes me wish that Donald Duck from Kingdom Hearts and Momotaro from Momotaro Dentetsu gets in Smash Bros. Anyway, at the center of the budding industry of Japanese animation are the pioneers. And the most relevant Japanese animation pioneer to our topic is the animator Mitsuyo Seo. An apprentice of Kenzo Masaoka, Mitsuyo Seo's directorial debut took off in 1934 with the short film Osaru no Sankichi Totsugeki Tai. My list shows that Mitsuyo directed 12 films. If you're interested, 4 are available on animation.filmarchives.jp and 4 can be found on YouTube. Now I've seen all of the animated short films in animation.filmarchives.jp. And I'm gonna say that Mitsuyo's works are the most Disney-esque. Which is probably why he's the one that the Japanese Navy commissioned to produce Momotarou Umi no Shinpei. Now, is that a good thing for Mitsuyo Seo? I don't know. I can't find a documentary about him on the internet. So I have very little information about Mitsuyo's personal life. And I suspect that some of these are exaggerated. I've read somewhere that he opposed the Japanese war effort, so he was arrested and tortured in the early years of the Second World War. Which means working with the Navy might not be a good thing for him. But I also read somewhere that he supported the Japanese war effort so much that he was shunned by the animation industry after World War II. Which is why his last film, Osama no Shippo, did not receive a wide-scale release, leading to his bankruptcy. He ultimately left the animation industry and just became a children's book illustrator. He's probably a cool guy. I don't know. Momotarou Umi no Shinpei successfully indoctrinated the Japanese working classes youth when it premiered in April of 1945. Now, if the Japanese Navy was aiming for another entry to the Momotaro franchise, it's probably just gonna be about defending the homeland from invading Onis. Because in April of 1945, the Japanese Navy only had 6 battle-damaged aircraft carriers still afloat out of the 25 that they built for the war effort. These are the Amagi, Junyo, Hosho, Ryuho, Kayo, and Katsuragi. And aircraft carriers are the meta in naval warfare during World War II, which means the Japanese Navy is in really bad shape. Without support from aircraft carriers, all they can really do at that time was futilely defend their positions against the encroaching Allied forces. And in July 6 of 1945, just 3 months after the release of the film, the Enola Gay arrived at Tinian. Are you still with me? Oh, right. How to enjoy Momotarou Umi no Shinpei? Well, if you're in the mood for deep Japanese black and white animated feature-length film, yeah, go for it. And don't worry about it being a World War II propaganda film. As long as you know what it truly is, it can't brainwash you. I hope. But just to be sure, here's a short presentation on how not to become a pawn of the visible and invisible powerful people in society. But this is not a politics channel, so let's not talk about that. And remember to watch this film only after you've watched the animated short film Momotarou no Umiwashi, because Momotarou Umi no Shinpei is the sequel to Momotarou no Umiwashi. Oh yeah, I completely forgot about this one. Okay, so before Momotarou Umi no Shinpei, the Japanese Navy first commissioned Mitsuyo Seo to produce Momotarou no Umiwashi. Released in March of 1943, 2 years before Momotarou Umi no Shinpei, the animated short film is about the mission of Momotaro and his animal friends to defeat the Onis with the use of aircraft carriers. Specifically the Akagi, Kaga, Suryu, Hiryu, Shokaku, and Zuikaku. The film this time features rabbits as the original character do not steal. The main rabbit is a crew member of one of the aircraft carriers, while the main monkey, dog, and peasant crew one of the planes. Under Momotaro's command, Monkey and friends, as part of a 6-squadron strike force, attacked the naval and airbase of the evil alcoholic Americans. I mean Onis. They attacked the naval and airbase of the evil Onis. You know, December 7, 1941, Pearl Harbor. Yeah, so watch the short film first. Now, for the gamers that are watching, no, there's no Mitsuyo Seo's Momotaro real-time strategy video game out there, where your units are always cute antros while your enemy units are always Onis, whatever side you are. No. And I'm sad to say that there's no good Momotaro Poltel action video game out there either. There is the Momotaro Densetsu series and its spin-off series Momotaro Dentetsu. But the former are turn-based RPGs while the latter are train team dice-based board games. But don't be sad, I plan to add a Momotaro themed campaign to my top-down action video game in the future. Now I know my game looks like this at the moment, but trust me bro, it's gonna be awesome just like your favorite anime. I mean, just look at the concept art I made. Yeah. And on a side note, notice that throughout this video, I didn't call any of these anime. Well, because they're not. I'm 100% sure that they're not. These are all just cartoons, black and white cartoons that happens to be from Japan. Because anime is, well, that's a story for another episode. So subscribe so that you don't miss that episode when it goes up. Or just read the comment section because someone will probably spoil it there. Now, it's still possible that a few of you might think, what's an anime? Anime is a form of entertainment given to us by ancient aliens in Japan, according to my cryptic dreams. To finish up, I'm gonna rank Momotarou Umi no Shinpei above, below. Yeah, this is the first animation in this channel. Ha, I'm so stupid, why am I still alive? And this video is part of my 12 anime of 1980 series, even though it's not really anime. Why 12? Why 1980? I'll explain in a later episode. Wow, deja vu. And I guess that's it. Please like this video. I have this need to be liked. Also, you can share this video with your friends if you think they'll like it. Thanks, bye. Oh hey, you still here? So, last episode, we made LeLeLe, a generic tennis video game. Now, we'll update this game by giving it a hubworld and converting it from a tennis team to a fantasy team game. Because I'll be honest, I don't like sports video games. The only reason I made a generic tennis video game is because Pong Arcade is the very first commercially successful video game, so I thought it's the best place to start. So yeah, let's update the game. Now, if you don't want to do the whole
11
steps, you can download a copy of the updated version of LeLeLe and its source code on my Discord, on my Patreon. Link in the description. Okay, let's do this.
Step 1
Trim the longest class file, ball.java. This generic step might also come up in future episodes. So, whenever there's a class that's too big, I'll take out a chunk of lines from it to create a new class file, just to make the codes a bit more readable. And for today, we're gonna move the collision detection methods from the ball class to their own separate classes. Also, from now on, we're gonna explicitly use an update method whenever there's a draw or render method. And the update method should always be called by the draw or render method. I skipped the update method on some classes last episode because I thought it's not that important, but I now realize that I need this to make the code more readable for future episodes. So here are all the 6 modified and 2 new classes.
New class アップデートクラス
New And there you go. Well, nothing really changed in the gameplay, so let's move on to the next step.
ステップ2、
Learn to create your own sound effects. While making this episode, I realized that sound effects can be divided into two categories. Real-world sound effects like door opening, cat's meow, motorcycle engine, or the sound of thunder. And fictional world sound effects like magic circles, dragon's roar, laser gun, or robot dragon's roar. I'm happy to just use the pre-real world sound effects floating around the internet, but not the fictional world sound effects. Because they're actually easy to produce, if you know how. And I wish I can say, just watch some YouTube tutorials on creating fictional world sound effects, then recommend you at least one tutorial series. But I wasn't able to find a really good one that uses free and open source software like Audacity. Yeah, so just try searching for sci-fi sound tutorial and fantasy sound tutorial here on YouTube and see where it takes you. That's it. That's the step. I'm actually just as lost as you are, assuming you're not a sound engineer. But just for the record, here's what I did. I took real-world sound clips and ran them through Audacity's effects to generate fictional world sound clips. As an example, here's a clip that I recorded myself. I ran this mysterious sound through some of Audacity's effects and got this. Huh, that's actually not bad. I'm gonna use that as a magic healing sound effect in the future. So yeah, I'll replace all of the tennis sound effects and voice tracks from the last episode with new fantasy themed sound effects and voice tracks that I made myself. But I'm not gonna show you how I made those sound effects in Audacity to save time. So let's move on to the next step.
ステップ3、
Create a hub world. Okay, so here's the lore of the hub world. The main character, you, is a person isekai to another world. Wait, was that phrase redundant? So, there's this scene where you're in a coma. This is after the second to the last boss battle, by the way. And you're inside your mind reenacting the highlights of your past adventures by walking through portals. You know, like a boss rush level near the end of the game. So, inside your mind, there's this room filled with magic portals, right? But we'll just make one portal for now. Entering the portal will let you play the game level. The room also has a doorway that will let you wake up from your coma. You can ignore the portal and just leave the room, but as a consequence, you won't be able to unlock your special ability. Got that? Okay.
ニューアセッツ、ニュークラス、アップデートクラス、
And there you go. The attract mode screen now goes to the hub world instead of going directly to the tennis game. The hub world that we can't interact with because we haven't created our player character yet. So let's do that.
ステップ4、
Create the player character. To keep it fast and simple, I'm not gonna give it cardinal directions. That means no north, east, south, and west facing sprites for now.
ニューアセッツ、ニュークラス、アップデートクラス、
And there you go. And side note, I originally named my abstract map as map, but I later found out that libGDX has its own map class, so I have to rename my abstract map to abstract map. I'll see if I can use the libGDX map in the future, but for now, I'm just gonna go with this. Anyway, here's the player character. Note that I limit its movements to just horizontal and vertical, so no diagonal movements. It can't pass through walls. If you leave the map through the doorway, the game closes, for now. And if you step on the portal, it starts the tennis game. The game that we're gonna give a fantasy-themed makeover in the next step.
ステップ5、
Convert the tennis level into a fantasy action level. Okay, so here's the lore of the tennis map. So there's this evil wizard, right? He and his men of diverse fantasy races capture the temple. Because he wants to summon a demon. Because you can only summon demons or angels on specific areas in this world, and one of them is this temple. So, you alone, or with a party, or with an army, go to that temple and do battle with the wizard's men. Eventually, you got inside the temple where you face the evil wizard himself in the hall. But by that time, a demon summoning circle is already opening for a very powerful demon at the center of the temple. So you really don't have the time to fight the wizard right now. But you do have a secret weapon. Because at some time before this event, you had met the Edenians. And the name Edenians was already taken. You know what? I'm still gonna call them Edenians. Because they are from the Eden of this world. And I don't think you can copyright Eden. Okay, so the Edenians look like humans, but they're actually a separate race from humans. Of all the races in this fantasy world, they have the smallest population, after the angels and demons that are temporarily summoned in this world. But they are the most powerful, magic-wise. And that is all I can say about them for now. The Edenians gave you the ability to summon a very powerful magic ball. The ball is light element, which means it's very effective against dark entities. So if you can just send the magic ball to the other end of the hall to the center of the temple, it will destroy the demon summoning circle. So you did that, but the evil wizard deflects it with his magic shield, and he also raised magic walls behind him. You then deflects it back with your own magic shield, and you also raise your own magic walls behind you. And that's the gameplay of this level.
New assets.
No, no, no!
New クラス。アップデートクラス。
And there you go. It's now a fantasy themed game. Yay. We got the hallway walls, the magic walls that degrades when they get hit. The ball now has a summoning animation and after image effect because magic. And the more the magic walls get hit, the faster the ball's X direction becomes, up to the ball's X width -1. And side note, I deleted the scoreboard class because we don't really need scores anymore. And the game keys class is my solution for passing information from one map to another. It just works. And now, if you win the game, you go back to the hub world. And if you lose the game, you go back to the attract mode screen. We'll add the game over screen in a later step. What else? I forgot the entities.
ステップ6。
Add the enemy paddle entity and the player paddle entity. I just realized I don't really have a reason why the wizard is wearing red, other than to contrast what the player is wearing. So let's add to the lore that the wizard is actually part of a secret cult that worship demons, who are red.
New assets. New クラス。アップデートクラス。
And there you go. The player and wizard entities. The entities are now the ones moving the paddles around, so we can have this effect. And if hit by the ball, either the player or the wizard will be stunned for 4 seconds. And I think we're done with this map. Now let's fix the win and lose conditions.
ステップ7。
Game over screen and win screen. If you lose the game, we want to go to the game over screen instead of the attract mode screen. And if you win the game, you go back to the hub world. And as I said a while ago, beating the portals in the hub world will unlock your special ability. But I can't think of a good special ability right now, so instead here's what happens. Fantasy worlds have princesses, right? So you go back to the room in your mind and a princess is there waiting for you. She is actually sitting next to your sickbed, trying to reach your soul with the help of some fantasy world nonsense. And that's it, a princess showing up in your mind. That's the windscreen for now. I think I'm gonna add the special ability as a power of love or friendship thing in a later episode.
New assets. New class. Update class.
And there you go. The game over screen where you're forced to close the application. And the windscreen. I renamed Collision Ball to Wall to Collision Ball to Wall Tennis Map because it kind of became too specialized for the tennis map. Maybe I'll revise the whole ball collision system in a later episode. I created the abstract entity class, and notice that I made the abstract entities comparable. This is so that we can sort the entities by Y position before rendering. To get this effect, as you can see, the player sprite is under the princess sprite. Moving the player's Y position below the princess places the player sprite on top of the princess sprite. Cool, huh? And leaving the room will wake you up from your coma, but that's for a later episode. For now, it just closes the game. I kinda don't like the way the game just jumps from one screen to another. And it also needs a delay when closing the application so that we can hear the exit game sound effect. So let's fix those.
Step 8.
Add paid transitions. We need a method in the abstract map class and the new abstract menu class that can make the screen fade to white, fade from white, fade to black, and fade from black.
New class. Update class.
And there you go. The game now looks even more cinematic than before. And we can now hear the game exit sound effect. Side note, I modified the enemy paddle entity, player paddle, and player paddle entity to follow the game's hierarchical structure. So now, they accept the reference of the instance of the tennis map itself, which means they can now see everything in the map, instead of getting a reference of each instance of the classes in the tennis map like the ball and each other. And that's it. We're done coding for today. But before compiling, let's first do some housekeeping.
Step 9.
Dispose of every instance of disposable libGDX classes. This step is important because failure to do so will lead to severe memory leaks. Last episode, I intentionally did not dispose of the sound effects in the game, just to see what would happen. But that didn't really lead to any kind of errors. Maybe it's because the game is just around 30 megabytes, while both my Windows and Linux machines have 16 gigabytes of RAM, which probably let them kind of tank all of the memory leaks? I don't know. But as a rule of thumb, you must dispose of all the instances of disposable libGDX classes you've created. Now, there are exactly 119 disposables in libGDX version 1.12.1. So how can you really be sure that you've disposed of all of their instances in your game? Well, one way to do it is to parse your code. Parse your code to get the list of all the created classes and disposed classes in your project. Paste them on a spreadsheet, and just check if they tally. I have these PowerShell scripts that lets me do that. And one of them lists the instances of user-defined classes, just for good measure. Doing this step actually made me understand my code better, so don't skip this. Okay, so I'm done checking. But there's still one last housekeeping step that we need to do before compiling the game.
ステップ10、
Remove some of the unused libGDX official extensions. Remember last episode when I include all of the official extensions in the game? Yeah, that's a bad idea. Bullet is a 3D collision detection and rigid body dynamics library. But we're only making a 2D game in this channel, for now, so we don't really need that. Box 2D is a 2D physics library. We don't need that because let me remind you, the ball that we're using right now is not even a circle. It's a square pretending to be a circle. We don't need realistic physics that requires extra processing power in our simple game. And Box 2D Lights is a 2D lighting system that requires Box 2D. We'll just create a simple lighting system in the future if we need it. Hell, Box 2D Lights doesn't even have its own wiki page as of making up this video, so I guess it's really best to just skip this one. But how can we remove these extensions from the game? And does it even matter? For the latter, yes, it matters. Removing these three extensions actually reduces the file size of LeLeLe version 1.1 from 32 MB to just 20 MB, freeing 12 megabytes of storage space. That's as many as 3 megabytes. And that's awesome. Now, to remove these extensions, we have to edit the build.gradle file from the project's root folder. We only need to delete these 5 lines of code that add those 3 dependencies in the project. Save the build.gradle file, and then go to Eclipse, right-click the project, and select Refresh Gradle Project to refresh the dependencies. Then in the project menu, make sure Build automatically is selected, then select Clean. This rebuilds the project using the updated build.gradle file. And that's it. The next time we compile the game, it will no longer include those 3 unwanted extensions. And now for the last step.
ステップ11、
Compile the game. I think I wasn't very clear in the last episode. So here's how to compile your libGDX game in Windows. Go to your game's root folder, open command prompt, run the gradlew.bat file with the desktop:dist argument. After it's done compiling the game, you can get the jar file inside the desktop builds libs folder. You can move this file to anywhere you want and rename it to anything you want. Remember, this file can run in Windows, macOS, and Linux. And we're done. Again, the game, the source code, and the PowerShell parsing scripts from
ステップ9、
is on my Discord, on my Patreon, link in the description. And if you download the game, please leave a testimonial in the comment section. Thanks, bye. Hey, still here, huh? Last episode, I procured a 1-core, 1-thread desktop computer. I called it Benchmarker Mark 1. And I used it to test if a 1-core 1-thread PC can run LeLeLe version 1.0. And yes, it can. And with only using around 30% of its processing capacity. So, guess what we're gonna do now? Yeah, that's right. LeLeLe version 1.2 versus Benchmarker Mark 1. Here we go! Yeah, I'm still poor. I updated Linux Mint, Goberlay, and Mangohood before doing the test. And the latest version of Mangohood remains unable to see the Sandy Bridge IGPL load. And Mangohood now automatically removes the counters that it can't detect, thus leaving us with the CPU load counter and FPS counter. And as you can see, LeLeLe now utilizes around 35% of Benchmarker Mark 1's CPU, which is better than expected, because we now have 13 rectangles in the tennis map compared to just 3 in version 1.0. The 5% CPU load increase is actually not that bad. So yeah, LeLeLe version 1.2 can run on a 1-core, 1-thread desktop computer. Before I end this video, I just want to say that while doing this YouTube thing, I realized that releasing videos is really hard, at least for me. There are always delays. My first video was delayed for a month because I lost my internet connection. Thanks, Truckun. And this video was delayed because I have to adapt to life without a fridge after my old personal refrigerator died on me. It kinda feels like the universe doesn't want me doing this. But why? Why? Oh god, not again. Anyway, I discovered a new way of processing my audio. So if I get enough support for my channel, I might repost my first video. Not with new audio recording, but with remastered audio. because I feel like that can really improve the first video. Or not, maybe it's best to just leave it alone and just focus on the next videos. I don't know, I'm insane. Yeah, that's it. End of video.